Well, g'day Specialist Practice, it's Dr. Fee here again. I've actually got Arden. He's just watching me put together this short little video, and it is going to be short because most of the stuff is up on Moodle on how to get your literature review and what I'm expecting. So, let's start. First I want you to go into Moodle and into Specialist Practice. As per usual, if you click on Assessments, you'll be able to open a template for a literature review. You'll find that the format of the template is a little bit more boring compared to my normal templates. And this is because at this point I'm wanting you to think that you're writing this for academic audience, not for your organisation alone. You've got your cover sheet you fill out, and then you've got this little box telling you it is a template. Please delete the box. Just turn label editing off. Please delete this box when you sit it in. This is because I don't want to see the box. So, title, author, introduction. What I'm looking for in the introduction are the three things you can see here that you've actually given me the purpose of the literature review. I'm expecting that you're all going to say that the purpose that you have been writing this literature review is to give more information about a specialist practice area. So, in your purpose, I'm expecting a focus or something around what area you're looking at. So, I'll put something like, I'm going to type it to say time. In this literature review, I am focusing on the area of community and youth development work because I want to enrich my own work in this area. If I was writing an organisational perspective, I would go because I want to be able to enrich the work of my organisation in this particular specialist practice area. What are you focusing on? What I am looking for specifically here is your research question that you developed to source your literature. How are you focusing on it? Silly computer. How are you focusing on it? I want to have just a brief little outline of how you found your work, how you found those literature. So you're saying how I managed to get some of the answers to my question by searching for resources on EBSCO and on eBell as well as library. Other courses, I noticed you found literature by looking at what you had in the course. So give me a brief idea about how you found literature that you found. Then you've got this gigantic literature review. That is the bulk of your paper. Now, rather than me telling you how to write that bulk, I want you to go back to Moodle, come to the main page of Specialist Practice, go down to reviewing your Specialist Practice area, weeks 7 and 8, and I'm guessing that most of you have already done this, but if you haven't, just to give you a quick reminder, every 2 weeks is an overview and lecture that you should really work your way through. I want you to watch both of these videos. It is very important. Why I thought it would be best to remind you to watch both of these videos is all I'm doing is what this guy is doing, and he takes less than 40 minutes to talk about it. And as you know, I can't seem to get my talking down to under 40 minutes. Ignore anything that pops up like this, just Xbox it. That's why it's Microsoft called it Xbox. This one in particular, part 2, he goes into how you can actually organise your literature review. So this is what I'm really going to be looking at. I want to know whether you can actually arrange the literature that you've got, whether you're going to provide me more than just a list of your annotated bibliography. I want to see if you can see where there are themes across that literature that you have. So when I've written literature reviews at university, what I've tended to do is what you did in the qualitative analysis, create little boxes on the ground and go, now actually in community, this literature I found looked at gangs, this literature I found looked at the police, because maybe my question would have been, how to work effectively with young people in trouble. This literature is looking at welfare. I know many of you have focused down on one of those areas in particular, and then I would actually have 3 little themes on that. Okay? Right. I'm feeling a song coming on. What I also require you to do is to go through this week, once you've written your review, and read the punctuation reading. This is going to help you heaps. your literature review, I'm really looking for your academic voice, and most of you have that, but when I see stuff like, I feel that this is good, I don't want to see that language. I don't mind the use of I, but if I was to put a piece of opinion on a piece of literature, what I actually would prefer you to do is what you say is use passive voice. But change it then. Have your way. Uh-oh. Okay, so I want, instead of having something like I feel that this article is relevant to Wainuiomata, which is what I would have put in my annotated bibliography, I want it written differently. This article may be relevant. This is wishy-washy language. But wishy-washy language in the academic world allows you to put across an opinion without actually saying, this is my opinion. What this is called is active voice. It is active because I can find the person who is speaking, the point of view. This, I cannot find the person that is speaking, so it becomes passive. Now, you should not write every sentence passive. The only time you should use it is if you're trying to convey something that is your point of view, but you know that you're really not in a position to be able to say, this is what I feel. And in academic writing, you can't rely on feelings at all to get you an A. I am looking to see whether you can find key themes in that literature and whether you can use those skills that you had to use when you were answering your literature. So I am looking to see whether you can analyse your literature, whether you can synthesise your literature, whether you can, let's go back to the assessments, whether you can show comprehension of the literature that you've been actually looking at. All of these things here, when I'm marking, I want to know whether you had a basic understanding, whether you could see how you could apply these, whether you're showing an analysis. Now, you should not go down this step by step by step. These things you'll be covering within the whole piece in itself. So I'm not looking for you to go, this is my comprehension answer, this is my application. I'm looking for stuff like, this is an outline of what White says about young people in gangs, which is one of the pieces I've had. When it comes to looking at White within a practical context, he may not be completely relevant to Wainuiomata because his work is on Aboriginal youth in Australia. However, given that marginalisation in Australia and New Zealand tends to happen for Indigenous young people, we should at least reflect on these findings. Those short three sentences have shown all of those in action. So I'm looking for that clearly. The other thing you'll find in the same folder of your literature on Moodle of this video, so when you close this video, it'll be just underneath, so if you scroll down the page, you'll see it. 2 articles. This is the ones that I talked to you about in our last evaluating information block. This comes from a magazine that I subscribe to called On Substance. In the beginning of On Substance, for practitioners, they give you an annotated bibliography of recent literature that's come out. They don't know how to make short annotations, as you can see. They're very, very long. They would not get an A from Fiona at all due to the length. So, but you'll see exactly what I talked to you all about. APA up front, and then we've got a strong annotation going all the way through. They haven't grounded it in their reference here, so there would be problems there, and they haven't put years there, so they haven't gone the author's 2009 there, so there would be problems there as well. But this is an example of a magazine that's developed for practitioners that uses annotations. In New Zealand, you can subscribe to the Children magazine from the Children's Commissioner, and that has an annotated bibliography in every issue for practitioners as well. It's written a bit better as well. So this is On Substance. They have put together an annotated bibliography, and in the same journal, in the same magazine, it's only like a 10-page magazine, they have put together a literature review of the annotated bibliography and other sources. And this is where the literature review is quite interesting. Remember, I talked to you about how this literature review came from a researcher wanting to know if a youth worker was telling the truth, because youth workers often consider evidence in Australia to be their instinct and not research. So she went to look at the research. That would be her introduction. In that introduction, she's given me the purpose, and she's given me her key question. So she's looked at research on alcohol and energy drinks to see what the harms are. The purpose is because she's concerned that a youth worker wasn't telling the truth. Then she launches straight into it. Now remember how I want, again, this is On Substance, it's a magazine written by practitioners for practitioners, so they haven't got perfect APA, and remember how I'm encouraging you to go perfect, so I would be expecting her to ground each paragraph in the reference rather than what she has done, which is unfortunately put the reference at the end. She would get a D on referencing from me for that reason. So I would expect her to be saying, according to Penley and Lublin, brackets, 2012, energy drinks first appeared in Europe and Asia in the 1960s. It's a literature review. I want to see the literature first, not the summary. So give me the reference first. Other than that, this is an excellent literature review. She's given me a really good summary. She's ordered it really, really well. She's gone, I'm going to order this in history. That's the theme. That's my first paragraph, is the history. The second paragraph is the prevalence. Where are they? And the third paragraph is her synthesis paragraph, where she has suddenly gone, well, what has everything found? What is the answer to my question? And then the final paragraph, well, here's the summary, and here's my conclusion. And her conclusion is that the research has found that really mixing the two doesn't really have an adverse effect. However, and this is what she points out, because energy drinks are increasing in caffeine levels, and caffeine has an effect, when you mix the effects of caffeine with the effects of alcohol, then you do put yourself at risk, particularly when you are a young consumer. So I would really, really encourage you to look at what this author has done in this article, because it saves me typing it up. And remember my key criticism. My key criticism is that you should ground your paragraphs in the reference like you have in your annotations and not tag it on at the end. It just looks like a dog's bones being left behind. The other thing I want to point out with this too is at this point you can actually start using quotes from your literature. So if you've got a quote within your literature that you think really adds substance to what you're saying, feel free to throw it in, but do make sure you put the page number. Here's another D coming in for this author on referencing, hasn't put the page number, so make sure you put the page number in there so I can find it when I'm after it, and only one quote per article. Other than that, I'm really keen to see what comes out of your learning in this. You've all done a fantastic job on your annotated bibliography. That's me signing out. Hopefully this video is under 40 minutes, and I'm really looking forward to reading them and our discussions in the block course. What you'll be presenting in the block course is very similar to evaluating information. It is basically, this is what my question is, this is how I found my literature, this is what I found, these are the implications for my practice, and we can throw you some questions to help refine your literature review. Tēnā koutou katoa. That's it.
What was that button push?